Hey, what's up? My name is Say Reed, and we are here still at WordCamp Orange County 2016, and I'm here now with Ann McCarthy, as she mentioned, of Jetpack. Have you heard of Jetpack? I believe you have. Okay, so hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, and she's losing her voice because Jetpack is here as a sponsor, and turns out a lot of people have a lot of questions, and so you've been talking all day. Yeah. What is your number one question that you get, or even just today, but in general, what's the number one question you get?
I would say about Jetpack, it tends to be about the features. So I think Jetpack does a lot, and people tend to know a little bit about it, but they don't know the full suite of what we offer. So a lot of it's about building out kind of a broader vision of exactly what Jetpack does and why it's so valuable.
So what is, so you're here today with Jetpack. Have you been to other WordCamps?
Yes, I went. The first one I ever went to was WordCamp Raleigh. I went to UNC, and that was the first time I ever went to a WordCamp. And then from there, WordCamp San Francisco, WordCamp US, WordCamp New York, this WordCamp, WordCamp Austin, and I think that's it.
So a handful, and you've only been working with WordPress for a short time. So tell me a little bit about how you came to WordPress.
So I was a psychology major in undergrad, and they needed someone to talk to professors in layman's terms. So they were using WordPress at the time, and I kind of got brought in under there. And then from there, that's kind of was my first introduction to WordPress. I had no idea how to use any of it. I was actually on Blogger before, believe it or not. So Blogger was the main platform I used. And I've only been using WordPress, gosh, I guess it's like 3 or 4 years, but not that long. Like I still feel very new to the community, and I still feel like I'm learning new stuff all the time about kind of how functional and extendable WordPress is. So
in that past year or so that you've been going to WordCamps and obviously talking to a lot of WordPressers in general of all types, not just today, but all that you're just hoarse from the last year of talking to WordPressers. Tell me about how you came, what your mindset was coming into the kind of like the first one that you went to, and how that's changed and evolved as you've gotten to know the WordPress community.
Wow, so the first one, I would say it was very small. So I was like, oh, this is neat. I didn't really know there was a community. I didn't understand the depth of it. And so the WordCamp Raleigh one, there's probably like 100 people. And so to me, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is like a club. Because I just thought WordPress is something the university used, and it was like a software. I didn't know there was this like giant, caring, wonderful community behind it. And WordCamp San Francisco really opened my eyes to that. So that was 2014, and it was like the second week I was hired from Automatic, and it was amazing. It was just people who really cared, who were willing to talk to me and teach me new things, and it was just the same environment that I felt at the university level, but in a wider group of caring individuals. And you not just care like in a passive way, but very actively. I got to participate as a volunteer in the community discussions. So I got to sit in the round tables and listen to people debate big issues in the community, and really just went from a small WordCamp to deep in the center of the people who really care, and as a kind of fly on the wall in a way that I think many people don't get until maybe they're like 6 or 7 WordCamps in. Like that was my second one. And so from there, it rapidly changed. So I was like, whoa, every WordCamp must be like this. So it was kind of this bouncing back and forth between, you know, oh, it's just this small thing, to, oh, it's this giant community, and like with all these individuals. And now I've kind of noticed it's amazing how each one has their own flavor. Like New York was very different, and Austin was very different. WordCamp US was amazing. It was a wonderful to be a volunteer there, and to give back to the community that I feel like I've gained so much from. So yeah, it's definitely changed a lot, like my view of the community. And more than anything, I think one thing that I've noticed is it can be insular in some ways, and I want to see us break into that and be more comfortable with like letting new people in. You mean the community can be insular? Yeah, like it's intimidating because I brought friends, and to me, I'm like, oh, I know WordPress, of course, I bring it in. But then I brought a friend of mine to WordCamp US, and she was just like, God, I didn't even know what to talk to people about. It was so overwhelming, it was so confusing. And I realized like that's the starting point. It's like going to a pickup soccer game. We all know we play soccer, and going to a WordCamp, we all know we love WordPress. But what about the people who may not know? And like most conferences, you go in and you may not know something, but you still are welcomed and go. And that's like, to me, the next level. And I've started seeing that more and more. And I think there's a lot of great community guidelines and a lot of people who make that effort to be welcoming. And I'm really excited about that, about bringing like what we love so much about WordPress to more and more people. And that's kind of, to me, like the next WordCamp phase.
So you have an interesting history in that WordCamp, is that you were hired by Automatic, and then 2 weeks later, we're kind of coming into the community. So how did you get hired by Automatic, or not how did you get hired, but how did you get interested in working for Automatic before you even knew there was a community? That's a really kind of interesting switch, so not very typical.
I was not one of those people who was like, oh my gosh, Matt Mullenweg, like, who is this man? I actually stopped him at WordCamp San Francisco and told him he couldn't go in the green room. And he was like, yes, I can. Like, it was like this funny thing where I was like, I don't know who you are. Like, why are you trying to go in the green room? And he's like, oh, I'm Matt. And I looked at his name badge. I was like, you're my boss. Like, yes, you can go in the green room. Like, so that's the experience I have. It's very different than most people. And I love it. Like, that's part of the reason why I want to bring in more of the outside community. But yeah, I basically found Automatic because the university I was working for was a VIP client. And they went on this amazing VIP trip. They learned a ton. They met all these awesome people. And they're like, and you should apply. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'll make it. And at that point, I actually graduated in college in 3 years. So I was like, I need a job now, like stat. So the psychology degree, you know, what do you do? Like, what's going to be my...
You think a lot.
You think a lot. Yeah. I could psychoanalyze everyone right now. But yeah, I was like, I had this tech background. I didn't know what to do with it. And I didn't know that Automatic existed. I read Scott Berkin's book, A Year Without Pants. I actually just met him a couple months ago, and it was really awesome to come full circle. But between the VIP meetup and my colleagues at the university, like gelling with the automaticians and really being like, these are great people, you should really work for this company. And then Scott Berkin's book, which a friend of mine gave me as a gift, because she's like, oh, I hear you like WordPress, and the person like recommended as this like tech book you should read. And I worked remotely in college, so she's like, I think you'd like it, because it's like Year Without Pants, you know? And I read it, and I was like, whoa, this is the same company. I would love to work here, maybe in like 10 years. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know, you just got to go for it sometimes. And I realized the best decision I've ever made have been the ones where I've just kind of followed my gut and took a risk. And I took a risk in applying. They didn't get back to me for 3 months. I had 2 job offers in San Francisco, and I wrote to Automatic, and I was like, I really want to work for you. I have these 2 other jobs lined up. I'd love to hear back from you. Took a job. A week later, I hear back from them, and I was like, ugh. So I went through the trial process. Had a great experience working at a financial tech company, and then about 4 months later, I started working for Automatic. So it was kind of this whirlwind where I didn't think I'd get the job, but I was like, this will be great experience. It'll expose me to what I want to do in the future, and it'll give me a taste of what I've heard so much about and like this amazing company. So yeah.
So now you're in it.
Yeah.
you're like all up in it.
Yeah.
And you're working on one of the most visible products that not WordPress works with, that Automatic works with, because it's basically there waiting to be clicked on and activated. So and you almost, you know, Jetpack has a bit of a controversial role sometimes in the community. Yeah. So how has that been coming in as a newbie and kind of meeting all of this, you know, years long of experience people have with Jetpack? What has that been interesting? Obviously it's been interesting, but how has that been interesting?
Yeah, no, it's been fascinating. I think the first time I realized there was conflict is I got really chewed out by somebody at a WordCamp because I don't know, I said something that was I was new to Automatic. And I didn't know the history of Automatic and the community and the involvement. And again, I didn't understand Matt's role or Automatic's role even, or WordPress.com, WordPress.org. There's a lot of new stuff. And so, yeah, it's been really interesting, really educational. I love sociology, and so I have a lot of respect for this community. When people confuse, you know, oh, you work for WordPress, I'm like, no, I work for Automatic. I very firmly believe that the community is something that I am not deeply involved with, and I have so much respect for the work that's done. And there's no mincing words when it comes to that. So coming in with this Jetpack product and really trying to support it, make it the best it can, I'm bring it on. If we want to get better, we need to hear about it. Thank you for your feedback. Please, let me know what's broken. And we had a situation the other day with WordPress where I'm tell me, what's going on, what's, you know, let's talk about this, let's break it down. Because that's the only way you get better. If you want to be ignorant to feedback and hide yourself off and close yourself off, you'll lose. But the only way to get better is just to hear those things, that the complaints, and to make the product better. And we are very user focused. And I love, I have a whole list of ideas of possible features we could add in that I think users would really like. But my idea, my brain's always turning of how can we make this better? And I think that's the approach that I take. And when someone gives me really harsh feedback and curses me out in an email, I just reply back, I'm thank you for making me better. Because this feedback is the only way we'll know what's broken. Every interaction, everyone who talks to you, everyone who takes the time to give you feedback about your product, that's valuable. And I think if you dismiss it, you're closing in your worldview on your own your own self. And like, I think one of the things that will make us better is hearing that feedback more, because we at Automatic, we use our tools all the time. We think they're awesome. That's what we use to communicate. But we're a specific use case. So I think it's really important that we stay connected with other people and with different types of cases and different ways the product's being used, because that's the only way we'll kind of actually be useful and like provide value. So that's kind of
basically you need to come to WordCamps and just rant at her. Yes. Is really what she's saying. She's inviting us. She's got a little jetpack notebook filled with all of your rants, and she's paying attention. All right, so looking into the future, whether it's WordCamps or code or technology in general, what are you personally most excited about in the WordPress sphere in the next year? What's getting you excited?
So I helped create this event series called Accelerate LGBT for LGBT nonprofits and small businesses, and it's in partnership with Google. And one of the things I really have noticed in that is how much WordPress helps the people who don't have access to the tools that they need. And WordPress, it's amazing because I can listen to Google talk about their stuff. And they have a lot of free stuff too. They have amazing stuff about like getting your business online, getting found on maps, and all this great integration. But what I love most about WordPress is how we fight so hard to make it accessible, both in terms of making it accessible for like a blind person to use, but also in terms of making it a free software and making it open source and building on the community and letting anyone commit code and like figuring out, or not anyone commit code, but anyone can suggest code. But I really love that part of it. And in the next year, one of the things I really want to start seeing is helping more and more people realize that. Like, I want to make it easier and easier to use so more and more people can take control of their content and their data and get their voice out there. And like the stories that we've heard and like the stuff that's been done on social media, I'm a big believer in online voices. And a lot of people talk about like, oh, this generation is not politically active and not socially active. And like, to me, I'm like, just look online, look at the voices that are being raised. I mean, with everything happened politically and societally in the last like week, and like I'm from Orlando and like seeing all that stuff happen, and like, but I've seen some powerful stories come out of it, and some of them were published on WordPress sites, and I'm like, you know what, like it gives me, I literally get goosebumps thinking about it, because it's like I'm a part of helping create that reality. And if I can make it easier for the next person to share their story and like get the word out, like that gets me up in the morning. Like that's what makes me excited. And working on products like Jetpack and products like WordPress, where it's like security and backups, like protecting your site too. Like I really take it seriously. So that's kind of what gets me most excited. And seeing these small businesses and nonprofits through this event series and connecting with them and helping them realize they can use WordPress for this is really cool. Like I met a nonprofit that was a psychiatrist who's helping transgender people find their voice, their new voice, after they transition. And she didn't have a website. And it was just like, I got to sit down with her and create one in a matter of like an hour. And it was just like super powerful, because now it's like someone could find that and get help and help them find their voice. And it's that, like that's my contribution towards it. So yeah, that's what really makes me excited next year, is making WordPress easier and easier and easier to use, kind of like for everyone. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's exciting. That's one of the things I get really excited about too. So I'm like, access everybody. Your voice is out here. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ann. And thanks, guys. Bye, Facebook. And see you soon.